Good day, loves. Welcome back. Well. Welcome back to the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast.
Hey,
This is episode 116, y'all.
116.
Yes. And I am looking forward to it because, as you know, we get into the Freedom 5, which is 5 habits that we do on a daily basis in order to get closer to holistic freedom and actually attain that and actually have that and keep it. Yeah. So today is Wednesday, which makes it Fuel Day.
And we are 1 hour behind schedule.
Yes.
But we are
slept in
also
by accident. My phone died.
we are also she knew her phone she put her phone on the charger, she forgot to turn it on.
I forgot to turn it
Don't be lying to the people.
My phone died and I forgot to turn it on.
Anyway, we are an hour behind schedule, but we pardon me, have a relatable and accountable topic, if you will. Topic to hold us all accountable, us included.
Yeah.
For today, which is fuel your freedom, consuming for clarity and purpose. And what does consuming mean? Consuming means what you allow to influence your body, mind, and spirit, right? So for food, what you allow to influence your body and mind is what you eat and what you drink, right? There's also things that you can, take as medicine and pills and injections and things like that. What you allow to influence your body and mind. And for, otherwise, it's the content that you consume. So what type of reading materials, what type of uh, pages do you follow when you're scrolling, and what type of long form videos and documentaries and movies and entertainment and video games that you allow to influence your mind and spirit. So consuming for purpose and clarity means consuming content and consuming foods and drinks that are aligned with your holistic freedom goals. So if you have goals that, for instance, are to be free from illness, free from bad mental habits, free from bad emotional habits,
and to break generational patterns of disempowerment and disease in your family,
then you want to consume both content and food that's aligned with being free of those things. And you also want to starve your muscle memory that will be creating cravings to go to the influences of those habits, of those bad habits that you want to be free
of. One way that really resonates with me is to really first think through things from the perspective of what is in your thrive zone. What is the meeting place, which will have minimal friction, right? Because it's where you thrive, where you have the most fulfillment, where you feel like, yes, okay, this may be a challenge, however, I can do this. Okay. The Thrive Zone is the meeting place of 3 main worlds. So not really worlds, but 3 themes, right? The first one is what you love. So this is stuff that lights you up with joy. This is stuff that when you think of it, you're like, oh, wow, that'd be cool to do. The second one is stuff that you know that you need, stuff that you need. So this is making sure that we're getting our nutrients in, making sure that we are taking in motivational content or content that helps expand our knowledge base so that we're actually learning more about what the core thing that learning more about where we want to be and learning more about what is going to knock us off our path of getting there. And then the third world is what you are ready for. What do you have access to around you? What do you what
Is your spirit calling you to?
what is your spirit calling you to? That's another lens to look at it. So where those three things, love, need, and readiness, meet, that is where your Thrive Zone is. And so when we're thinking through stuff,
What we're going to eat, what we're going to watch,
up on,
what we're going to listen to, what we're going to participate in.
It's good to come from that lens. And that way, one, it's already going to be like your jam to do. And two, it's not going to feel like a burden to the point that you stop and you're like drained. And then you drop the ball and then you got to pick it back up again. That start stop cycle gets nipped in the bud.
Absolutely. And that's because you have a why behind your actions, right? A lot of times when we feel a big, this is such a drain, this is such a whatever, it's because there's no why behind our actions. We are taking actions either because someone else told us to, or someone else suggested that we should, or we think it's normal, meaning society suggested subtly that we should, but we don't have any why that is personally connected to, again, our goals, our mental goals, our health goals, our spiritual goals. We don't have any why that's personally connected to us and that's driving us to do a lot of our routine actions.
And maybe the why is just not big enough.
And so when you have a why that matters to you, you're right, that matters to you, you don't feel, and you don't have a reason to feel and believe the thought, this is such a drag, this is such a drain on everything, because you know why you're doing it, right? It's aligned with what you want to be headed towards. It's aligned to what you want to become. It's aligned to the truth that you want to embody. And so there's a different wind beneath your wings when you have a why backing your actions. So first, we want to get into the foods that are good fuel, and then we'll talk about content. And I'm going to read a little bit of passage from my book that will support what we're talking about here.
Okay, so foods that are good fuel. There are some things that we always want to make sure that we're getting in terms of checking that box of needs. Now, when we talk about what you love, think through your favorite foods. What do you already like? What are the foods that you already like? And then maybe let's find a healthy swap for that type thing. So as far as what we need, let's get into that. And then with from that space, we find the freedom and we find the flexibility through how we're thinking through it all. So the first thing is foods to incorporate. So the important thing, especially for women, absolutely for women, is that you must begin especially at a certain age or timing in your life. If you're struggling with any sort of autoimmunity, if you're struggling with any sort of chronic pains or condition or anything that you would know is coming from inflammation, then it's important to make sure that we are syncing the foods that you're eating to your cycle. Hold on, sweetie. So one of the things is that first thing to consider, y'all doing the head nod thing. First thing to consider is that at the very beginning of your cycle, first of all, when I'm talking about your cycle, if you are in postmenopausal times, then this still applies to you overall, because you'll still need variety in your life in order to keep going with your health goals. However, you don't need to worry so much about building up estrogen to the to the same level as like a 20 or 30-year-old. Okay, sweetie. Hold on. What are we doing? your hormonal levels will be significantly lower in terms of your body's requirements than someone that is in their 20s or 30s. Okay, so one thing that's really helpful for me is, especially if that's the case for you, is to check out some of the symptoms of when you know that a certain hormone is out of balance. Okay, and then eat those foods to bring them back into balance, or do those things that help bring them into balance. So if I could share my screen, that would be like amazing, and I could share with you the thing that I created to actually just summarize everything that I'm talking about.
Just tell them to comment the word.
So comment down below if you would like the guide that spells out each of the different hormones and the timing of when to focus on them to build them up, when to know that they're out of balance with like different cues within your body, when to know that they are in balance, what they love and what they don't like, so that you can best support them. That would be one of the most helpful things, because my cycle is different from your cycle, is different from your cycle, is different from your cycle. Okay. And we need to make sure that we're syncing up to our individual self, which is why when you try to eat the same thing at the same time as your friend, your results not gonna be her results, honey. They will not. Okay, because it's a very individualized journey. Babe, before you break down that box, can you close that door, please, for the sound? Okay. So, some foods that support estrogen. Um, did I say the word to comment? I don't know if I did. If I did not, just comment guide down below and I'll send you the guide. Boom shakalaka. There we go. All right. So some foods that support estrogen are things like dark leafy greens, berries, stuff that will not spike your blood sugar. So when you eat it, you don't instantly feel like the fogginess, like you are going into brain fog, or like you are teetering on fatigue, you got the itis. Nothing like that happens. You still feel energized, you still feel ready to go. That's how you should be feeling at the end of your meals, right? And some things that estrogen specifically likes, and she needs to be built up and focused on in your power phases, is stuff like, in terms of foods, your nut seeds. She loves when you focus on your protein. Okay. I know in certain nutrition communities, like if you ever listened to Dr. Sabi, he's like, protein's a myth. Yes and no, because literally, if you get the protein powders, those are filled with something called excitotoxins, which excites your brain cells, nerve cells to death. So after a while of utilizing those and then realizing a whole lot of brain fog and memory issues surfaced for me, I chose to step away from the protein powders and things of that nature, and just eat the things that the protein powders are using to get my protein from. So these are your nuts and seeds, especially ones that you soak so that you don't have any gut issues. Soak them ahead of time. It's the chia seeds, hemp seeds. These are complete proteins, like how you would find in meats. Okay, just 3 tablespoons of each will offer at least 10 grams of protein. You can sprinkle them throughout your salad. You can sprinkle them in your meals. You can put them in your smoothies. That's one way to save you time, to save you money, and to save you meal prep, so that you have a healthy something, healthy meal swap when you're on the go and things. Okay. You can put these things, you can utilize beans. All right. So pre-soaking, or if you cook your beans, then just rinse and drain off the water so that the plant's defense mechanism is guard is let down so that you can access the nutrition. Okay. Boom shakalaka. So your power phases are around days 1 to days 10, or before you start ovulating in your cycle, if you do have a regular cycle. Good day, love. We have a comment in Facebook land. Good morning, beautiful. Thanks for sharing this knowledge. My book, Culture Control, came in the mail. Can't wait to read it. Yay! That's awesome. Good day, love. And please, I wish I could hear your voice if we were on Zoom or something. But
Jacoya,
hey, Jacoya.
I'm gonna read from it today.
That would be cool. Yes. So culture control is something that will come up when we're talking about content and incorporating truths into our lives and like seeing through the veil of what's going on in the world. Okay. Now, when we are in our power phases, which is before and after ovulation times, if you're not ovulating, sync it up to the moon. Your day one is a new moon. Period. Okay. So this is when our bodies, our hormones are lower, and we need to really lean into those healing foods. So all the anti-inflammatory foods, our bodies are more sensitive to spikes in blood sugar. So if you're going into the doctor to get your blood sugar checked, you maybe watch the foods you eat on this time, because you know you'll be more sensitive. Okay. Something else to keep in mind is that you're more stress resilient. So you can stresses come your way. This thing happened at work. That thing happened with your kids. Whatever, you didn't get as much sleep. Your body's not gonna box you down like how it will if it was some of the other cycles. Okay, some of the other phases in your cycle. So focusing in on your clean protein things, focusing in on high fat. And when I say high fat, don't be scared, because there's two different types of fats. You got to avoid one at all costs, because it will inflame your body and you're going to be like, what in the world done happened? As far as how you feel inside. And then the other kind of fat, you're going to be like, okay, I got some energy. Okay, I feel energized and I feel like more balance in my mind and my emotions and my overall health and body. So we have good fats and we have bad fats. The good fats are things like if you're cooking, you're doing stuff high heat, avocado oil, sesame seed oil, maybe grapeseed oil, maybe. If you're not doing seed oils, avocado oil. Your brain is made mostly, well, it requires a lot of fat. It's not made mostly of fat, but your brain requires a lot of fat in order to remain healthy. And in order to produce a healthy level of hormones for you, you're going to need fat, because that is what is needed in that recipe to make a good hormone that is healthy. So that's why we need them. If you're not cooking, then you can lean into some of the other fats like avocado oil. I mean, olive oil, because we got to talk about avocado oil. So if low heat, no heat, olive oil, coconut oil, even your fresh avocado, that's best, because you're getting your fiber in there too. And it's well balanced. So these are the things, or if you getting the whole coconut, crack that open, scoop out the meat. These are all phenomenal when it comes to good fats for low or no heat. Okay. Now, when we're thinking about some of these other phases, let's say you are not in a power phase and you are instead in maybe a manifestation phase. I'm pointing back to this chart, Facebook plan, just so you know where I'm pointing to. It's this imaginary place off into the distance. In your next phase, so say you have day 1 to 10, and then you start ovulating. That begins manifestation phase. This is where you get a little interjection of testosterone that helps give you that extra motivation to get stuff done. It's like the hormone that's like, boom, 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 girl, we got this. Let's go. Let's go. That's like the hormone that if she could speak, she would say that. I feel in my heart. She would say, let's go. I got you. Let's get this stuff done. Okay. And if you're noticing anything like low libido or any pains and stuff in that area of your life, then I would also check in with her as especially at this time, because she needs to be built up. So she needs zinc. She needs you to maybe get your elderberry tea out, honey. Yes. She needs stuff like dark leafy greens. She needs you to support your liver. So alcohol and medications and things are not going to be helpful there. She don't like the things. Okay. As far as protein, she's gonna need some. You'll need to up your protein a little bit during this time. So your things like chickpeas that are not as starchy when it comes to sort of like beans and legumes, things like lentils, where a quarter cup of lentils, you have at least 10, if not 12 grams of protein right there. So that's just a little amount, right? So we can really support testosterone in our bodies at this time, because this is a time where you have some estrogen already built up, you have some testosterone trying to get it to its peak, and it will peak at this time, and then you also have your progesterone starting to come to its own little mini peak. Estrogen is like social butterfly vibes. You feel social, you feel like you want to connect. Testosterone is that go-getter vibration, that let's do this. And progesterone is like the zen, the calm, and the namaste uh, girl at the party that low-key is an introvert. She ain't talking to nobody. She's just talking to maybe her friend, and then she about to bounce because she didn't really want to go to that party anyway. Okay. Giving a whole narrative, y'all. So at this time, these are starting to peak. And when hormones are high, we need to shift gears altogether. So before, in our power phases, low carb, high fat was good. Incorporating protein always is good, from those whole foods, right? But when we get into this other thing, we're switching gears, because now your body is going to rebel against you if you try to do low carb, okay? Because your body's going to be like, what is going on? I need these, like, at least give me like some sugar, some glucose. Not, I don't mean table sugar, y'all. Don't get alarmed. But give me some glucose to break down, because right now you are more insulin sensitive, which means your blood sugar is not going to spike as much. Your body needs these extra little injection of glucose in order to really thrive with feeding and fueling your hormones. So at this time, it's good to really lean into nature's carbs. So that would be your root veggies. That would be stuff like sweet potato, or yams, and et cetera, et cetera. And if you want the full kind of list of just the gist of stuff that will be supportive, please just comment guide below and I'll send it to you via messenger or something. Okay, the next thing is lastly in the nurture phase. So after ovulation, after you have that span of maybe day 16 to 19, you're back into your power phase, back low carb, high fat vibe. After that, starting day 20-ish, depending on your cycle, will change, right? But day 20-ish until your cycle begins again, nurture phase is the vibration. So manifest and nurture phases, we need to also be building up progesterone. So this means same thing. You can think of it as you're kind of leaning in and out of two different ways of eating in a given month. Twice a month, you hit one way, which is low carb and high fat, and the other times in the month you hit the other way, which is at least like medium nature's carbs. So we're not talking about the cakes and the cookies and things. We're not talking about the table sugars. What we're talking about is the tropical fruits. We're talking about the citrus fruits. We're talking about the more starchier stuff. So it could be maybe you break out your oatmeal or your spelt porridge or whatever you're doing at that time. Okay. Maybe have an extra banana, some dates, maybe make yourself some healthy brownies that are few ingredients. It's not crazy. Okay. Maybe coconut sugar if you want to sometimes. All right. Anyway, so nurture phase, that's the vibration, because you're nurturing yourself. You're going to lean into more of the comfort food stuff in order to really build yourself up. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, y'all? Let me know. In the meantime, Soul's back, so we're going to get into the content as fuel. And again, if you want the nitty gritties, comment guide down below. I'll send it to you. There we go. All right, babe, let's switch. I'll take Omi.
Yep.
And you come on down.
I'm here, I promise.
Boom.
All right. What up? What up? We switched platforms. What's going on? We got somebody commented, guide. Chicoya. So another very important aspect of this whole conversation is, what are we fueling our body, our minds and our emotions and our spirit, right? For the religious folk out there, you want to make sure that you're visiting the principles that are taught in your religion, right? For the spiritual folk out there, you want to make sure you're visiting the principles that are taught in your spiritual belief systems. And for the truth seekers who are not so religious or not so spiritual in the sense of like trying to use all of these different books and different methodologies and things, you want to make sure that you are consuming my book. No, you want to make sure that you're consuming content that is aligned with your goals for what type of information you want to be able to teach and speak to other people about, what type of information you want to use to influence and shape how you interact with people, how you do business with people, how you do projects with people, whatever it is. And one of the last chapters in my book, actually, chapter 14, Another Look at Human Nature, really gets into why that's important. And so I'm going to read a bit of a passage from my book, just so that you get an idea of what makes it very, very important to, again, two things. One, consume the content that's aligned with your goals, your mental, spiritual, and emotional goals, and also to starve your muscle memory to consume the content that influences your behaviors in alignment with your bad habits, with the bad emotional habits, the bad mental habits, etc. Right? Pornography is one of the biggest well-known examples. You don't want to be consuming things that lead you to bad mental and bad emotional habits. I digress. Chapter 14 is entitled Another Look at Human Nature. So check it out. When an authority is established, or quote, when an authority is established among people, evil is either obvious to see or nearly impossible to see, depending entirely upon whether or not you are a part of its culture. End quote, Jeremy Locke. The word natural means, quote, of God or of spiritual essence. Therefore, human nature is defined by the spirit of humanity. The nature of a thing is observable, and what scientists of the mind and the spirit of human beings have come to conclude is this: human beings are programmable, much like computers. Not saying human beings and human minds are computers. We're not, we're different, but much like computers. Like a computer, if a human being has a bad file system format, okay, which is akin to your conditions during a child's formative years, right? A bad file system format, also a bad operating system, which is akin to your culture, and also a bad software program, which could be akin to erroneous or rigid and dogmatic beliefs that are not truths, just beliefs. Then their output, which is their behavior, onto the screen, which is your life, will also be bad. So I'll read it without any interjections. What the scientists have concluded is that if you have a bad file system format, a bad operating system, and a bad bad software programs, okay, then what will show up on the screen will also be bad, jumbled, not understandable. It will be bad. And it will contribute to deteriorating conditions to the system on a mass scale and very quickly. Like a computer, the behavior of a human being will largely depend upon its programming, the quality of the information put into it, which enables it to process and create efficiently, i.e., garbage in, garbage out. That's a quote by Mark Passio. And just a little bit more in my own words. If during your formative years, you were gifted with an unhappy home, imbalanced parental care, insufficient nutritional support, and a fundamental misunderstanding of your place in the world, your behaviors and worldview later in life will reflect those circumstances. Conversely, if you were fortunate to have a privileged upbringing with a happy home, adequate nutritional support, the love of two or more parents, knowledge of self, and balanced parental care, that too will be evident in your behaviors and worldview later in life. Many people presume that human nature is inherently either purely good or entirely selfish. However, in reality, it is neither. Human nature is programmability, akin but not identical to a computer, and the vast majority of our programming occurs through symbol association. And then I go into how symbols play their part in influencing our lives. And it's a very good read, so you should read it. What does this mean? This means that books, podcasts, conversations that we have in real life, in person, um, conversations that we are a part of just in our surroundings by who we hang out with, the types of media that we consume, either all of these things either elevate or decrease and diminish our evolution towards who we are trying to become and who we envision ourselves becoming later in life, right? You're either heading towards or heading away from your ideal self, your optimal self, your most, expressed potential self. And that's because we never stop moving. Nothing in the universe is still. This is one of the principles of basic life and how to say, this is one of the principles that governs the universe itself, is the principle of vibration. Nothing is still. So for us, for human beings in our short time here on this little blue planet, we are either heading towards our ideal self or heading away from it, because by nature, nothing is still. And with the media, with the words and symbols that we consume, with the images that we consume, with the habits that we consume, we also consume our habits, right? You can look at your daily habits and your weekly routines and all of these things also as consumption, because even though it's mundane and it's kind of autopilot and you might not need to pay very close attention to it, they are also what you're feeding your spirit on a daily basis, which is why things like affirmations and prayer and all of these things are very helpful to keep one aligned, because they're consuming those habits, right? Let me know if that makes sense in the comments. But these things are either driving us toward or driving us away from who we want to be. Now, there are physical habits and there are emotional and mental habits, right? So identifying what your comfort zone is in your mental and emotional space. Like, most people are very comfortable with procrastination, right? They have things, makes perfect sense. Thank you. Because I can ramble. Most people have a comfort zone that encompasses things like procrastination, indecisiveness, right? Negative self-talk. Hate when I do that. I hate that I'm like this, right? Why aren't I more like this other person? And all of these things can be a part of our comfort zone in terms of our mental emotional habits. And so, what content, what books, what media, what conversations can I consume that will elevate my mental emotional habits when I'm by myself or when I'm in my head? Right? This is a very good question for those note takers out there. Take that note. It's in the form of a question. Maybe journal about it. What content, media, conversations, and otherwise can I consume that will elevate my comfort zone of mental and emotional habits when I'm by myself or in my head? Okay. And some strategies to interrupt these patterns, as already mentioned, mindfulness practices like meditation, walking, um, physical exercise, uh, all of these things make you mindful, right? And then affirmations and just practicing positive self-image making, positive self-talk, all of that, journaling, whether it's gratitude journaling, story journaling, um, uh, whatever it is, writing gets it out of here and into order, right? Out of chaos and into order. And building some routines around these potential mental and emotional habits will build momentum towards you becoming your most ideal self, whatever your most ideal self is from where you are now, right? Not a perfect version of yourself, but whatever's the most ideal next step, next evolutionary space that you want to occupy from wherever you are now. And then there's two principles that I want to highlight before we close this episode out. The first of which is the consistency principle. What is the consistency principle? Most may think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I think that there's a subtlety about the consistency principle that many people miss. The consistency principle, how I look at it, is consistency over perfection. And it's that over perfection, or more important than perfection, part of the principle that I think most people miss. Because if you show up and your goal is to be perfect, and your goal to be perfect is driving you to be consistent, that's not going to be sustainable. And you will find after, let's say, a month, maybe just 2 weeks, that you're not really being consistent. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like after 2 weeks, you found you were not really being consistent, even though your goal was to one day master something and be perfect in something. But when you align your goal with being consistent over being perfect, meaning showing up over showing up at your best, or then there's two ways to look at the word best, right? To look at like showing up at your best. What I mean is not trying to show up and beat your high score every time. Okay. But you can show up at your best in terms of showing up and I'm going to do the best that I can do today, of course. But regardless, consistency for consistency's sake, right? Because consistency is a good principle, then that will drive that momentum and build that momentum and be sustainable in the long run against our inner struggles and inner demons and things like that.
Oh, I forgot to blink it. I wanted to say something before we close out the episode.
Yeah. Coach Tensy's going to come back. The second principle is the principle of awareness. Okay, you want to cultivate awareness, self-awareness, knowledge of self, if you will. Why my automatic responses are what they are currently is a principle that, when applied to today's concept, consuming content and consuming foods and drinks that are aligned with my goals, my physical goals, mental, spiritual, and emotional goals, cultivating an awareness of how is this food impacting me? How is this content impacting me? How are the friends that I'm surrounding myself impacting me? How is this routine that I'm developing for myself impacting my alignment with what I want to do and who I want to be? This conversation that you have with yourself and this reflection that you do within cultivates a self-awareness that is built on clarity and opens the door to more and more of your highest potential to flow through you naturally and not unnaturally. So before we close out the episode, Coach Tensi wanted to chime back in real quick.
Good day, loves. Hey. Oh, cool. Hey, Jacoy, you on Instagram now. I saw you on Facebook before. Okay, cool. I just wanted to say just that, especially if you are a working mom out here, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are working a desk job or whatever it is, to be encouraged because we are in this thing, okay? Yes, okay, you want to see the chart thing. Yes, I will send it to you. So look out for a message from me when we end the episode. I got you. It's a little PDF 1 page, boom shakalaka. And but yes, so as a reminder, good segue, if you want the guide that I made that helps sync everything up to your cycle and helps you know at a glance what your body's probably asking you for, then put guide in the comments and I'll send it to you. Other than that, just remember to be encouraged because we are literally in the process of every episode that we are getting into. We are building for ourselves our visions of freedom. So we are taking steps in the direction of holistic freedom as you see fit, as I see fit, as he sees fit, you know? And that is powerful stuff. So bit by bit, one habit at a time, even if it's 5 to 15 minutes to do, we're making it happen. And I'm proud of you. Embrace yourself no matter where you are in your cycle in a given month, and just lean into the foods
I thought
that
you were
will
going to say
support
no
you.
matter where you are in your journey, but in your
That too.
very specific.
That too. Because at any given moment, the same source that flows through all things flows through you too. And you can do this and you're not alone. Yay! So take good care.
I also bought my body butter today. Hey, now.
Snap. Okay, then that means that I'm gonna be shipping it out to you this weekend.
Look here, don't sleep on it.
I'm excited.
Don't sleep on it.
This particular
you see
one
her
got
skin,
a
y'all?
little scratched up because of all.
Oh well, yeah. The it's a little scratched up. This is our personal set. Okay, but turn her face back. From the interwebs, we can't be having the baby on the interwebs. Nah. The whole body butter is awesome sauce. If for those of you who don't know, just really quick side note: the lotions, the fragrances, the cleaning, the chemicals that we clean with, all of these things, that if it comes through your nose, if it comes through your skin, the sunblock, whatever it is that we use, right? A lot of these products on a daily basis, even a lot of peace. We do love you. Even a lot of soaps, okay, they contain things that will disrupt your hormones, disrupt your good habits, and disrupt the progress that you're making in terms of your healing. So when you get something like our patented, just kidding, Ufulu Child Align whole body butter, and you start to use it, first of all, it will, potentially replace your lotion, your leave-in conditioner for your hair, your massage cream, your pain cream. It will replace all of that and save you some moolahs, but it will also move you toward, right, principle of vibration, your ideal self. And yeah, thank you so very much. Jacoya, if you would be so kind and take a picture, smiling with my book and send it to me. That would be great. Other than that, thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. And we will see y'all soon. And we will get you and anybody else that comments the word guide in the comments, Tensei's guide for the food portion of today's episode. Thank y'all so much. Peace.